Good morning, students. Let us continue the topic Should Wizard Hit Mummy? The passage begins from here. He paused as a rapt expression widened out from his daughter's nostrils, forcing her eyebrows up and her lower lip down in a wide, noiseless grin. Jack was startled to recognize his wife finding pleasure at cocktail parties, and all of a sudden, he whispered, the whole inside of the wizard's house was full of the smell of roses. Roses, Roger Fish cried, and the wizard said, very cranky, that will be 7 pennies, Daddy. What? Roger Skunk. You said Roger Fish. Yes, Skunk. You said Roger Fish. Wasn't that silly? Very silly of your stupid old daddy. Where was I? Well, you know about the pennies. Say it. Okay, Rose Skunk said. But all I have is 4 pennies. Pennies means here coins. Okay. And he began to cry. Joe made the crying face again, but this time without a trace of sincerity. This annoyed Jack. Downstairs, some more furniture rumbled. Clary shouldn't move heavy things. She was 6 months pregnant. It would be their third, so the wizard said, oh, very well. Go to the end of the lane and turn around 3 times and look down the magic well, and there you will find 3 pennies. Hurry up. So Roger Skunk went to the end of the lane and turned around 3 times, and there in the magic well were 3 pennies. So he took them back to the wizard and was very happy and ran out into the woods, and all the other little animals gathered around him because he smelled so good, and they played tag, baseball, football, basketball, lacrosse, hockey, saucer, and pick up sticks. What's pick up sticks? It is a game you play with sticks, like the wizard's magic wand, kind of, and they played games and laughed all afternoon, and then it began to get dark and they all ran home to their mummies. Dear students, rapt means here completely fascinated or absorbed by what one is seeing or hearing. Nostrils either of two external openings of the nose, grin, smile broadly, cranky, bad tempered, or irritable, rumbled, make a continuous deep sound. Now let's have the explanation of the above passage. Then he relates the face that his daughter made to that of his wife. She made such a face when she pretended to be enjoying a cocktail party. Then he continues that the whole house of the wizard was filled with the fragrance of roses. By mistake, he changed the animal to fish. Joe corrected him and he said that it was really silly on his part to call him a fish in place of skunk. Just then, Jack got a bit annoyed with Joe's expression, and suddenly he heard some furniture rumbling downstairs. He realized that Claire, his wife, shouldn't be moving heavy things as she was 6 months pregnant and they were going to have their third baby. Then the wizard tells Roger to go to end of the lane and turn around 3 times, and when he would look in the magic well, he would find 3 more pennies. Then Roger did exactly how he was told and got the extra pennies. He then gave the pennies to the wizard and ran back to the woods where everybody gathered around him because he smelled so good. Then they all played a lot of games and enjoyed themselves. As it was getting dark, all the animals ran back to their mummies. Further, Jo was starting to fuss with her hands and look out of the window at the crack of day that showed under the shade. She thought the story was all over. Jack didn't like women when they took anything for granted. He liked them apprehensive, hanging on his words. Now, Jo, are you listening? Yes, because this is very interesting. Roger Skunk's mummy said, what is that awful smell? What? And Roger Skunk said, it's me, mummy. I smell like roses. And she said, who made you smell like that? And he said, the wizard. And she said, well off. all the nerve. You come with me, and we are going right back to that very awful wizard. Jo sat up, her hands dabbling in the air with genuine fright. But Daddy, then he said about the other little animals run away. Her hands scattered off into the underbrush. All right, he said, but mummy, all the other little animals run away. And she said, I don't care. You smell the way a little skunk should have, and I'm going to take you right back to that wizard. And she took an umbrella and went back with Roger Skunk and hit that wizard right over the head. No, Joe said, and put her hand out to touch his lips, yet even in her agitation did not quite dare to stop the source of truth. Inspiration came to her, then the wizard hit her on the head and did not change that little skunk back. No, he said. The wizard said, okay. And Roger Skunk did not smell of roses anymore. He smelled very bad again. But the other little um, oh, John, it's Daddy's story. Shall Daddy not tell you any more stories? Her broad face looked at him through shifted light, astounded. First means here to show excessive excitement. Apprehensive means fearful that something bad or unpleasant will happen. Awful means very bad or unpleasant. Fright means a sudden intense feeling of fear. Scattered move lightly and quickly. Underbrush means shrubs and small trees. Agitation means anxiety or nervous excitement. Astounded means shock or greatly surprise. Explanation of the above passage is Joe had started getting bored with the story and was more interested in looking out of the window. She thought that the story was over. On the other hand, Jack did not like women who would take things for granted. He liked women who remained engrossed in his talks. Then he again continued the story, asking Joe to be a little attentive to what he said. The mummy skunk asked that from where was that awful smell coming from, to which Roger replied that it was him. He added that he smelt like roses. Mummy skunk asked Roger that who had made him smell like that, to which he replied that the wizard had done so. The mummy skunk got angry and ordered Roger to accompany her to the wizard. Roger told his mom that all his friends ran away from him if he smelled bad, to which his mom replied that she didn't care, and that he smelled just the way a baby skunk should smell. His mom took out the umbrella and they went to the wizard's house, where when the wizard opened the door and the mummy skunk hit him on his head. Then Joe started imagining her own story about how the wizard would have hit the mummy skunk back and never changed Roger skunk back. Her father told her that nothing of that sort happened, and the wizard changed Roger skunk back to normal and he did not smell of roses anymore. Another question was about to pop up in little Joe's mind, but Jack stopped her and told her that it was his story, and if she wanted him to tell her any more stories, then she should keep quiet. Jo kept on looking at her father with great surprise as she waited for the story to be continued. This is what further lines are. This is what happened. Then Roger Skunk and his mummy went home and they heard the sound of the train. Woo, and it was the choo train bringing Daddy Skunk home from Boston. And they had lima beans, celery liver, mashed potatoes, and pie. Oh my, for dessert. And when Roger Skunk was in bed, Mummy Skunk came up and hugged him and said he smelled like her little baby skunk again, and she loved him very much. And that's the end of the story. But Daddy, what? Then did the other little animals run away? No, because eventually they got used to the way he was and did not mind it at all. Lima means an edible flat white bean. Celery means a cultivated plant of the parsley family. Eventually means in the end or finally. Explanation is After some time, when Roger Skunk and his mum were going back home, they heard a sound of trains coming. As his father arrived back from Boston, then all of them had lima beans, celery, liver, and mashed potatoes for dinner and pie. Oh my, for dessert. Later that night, when Roger Skunk was sleeping, Mom Skunk came back. She hugged him and told him that he smelled again like her baby skunk and that she loved him a lot. With this, Jack ended the story, to which Joe again asked that did the other animals run away from Roger Skunk again? And Jack replies no, because they slowly got accustomed to the smell, so they did not feel like running away anymore. What's eventuality? In a little while, that was a stupid mummy. It was not, he said with rare emphasis, and believed from her expression that she realized he was defending his own mother to her or something as odd. Now I want you to put your big heavy head in the pillow and have a good long nap. He adjusted the shade so not even a crack of day showed and tiptoed to the door in the pretense that she was already asleep. But when he turned, she was crouching on top of the covers and staring at him. Staring means looking at. Hey, get under the covers and fall fast asleep. Bobby's asleep. She stood up and bounced gingerly on the springs. Daddy, what? Tomorrow I want you to tell me the story that wizard took that magic wand and hit that mummy. Her plump arms chopped forcefully right over the head. No, that's not the story. The point is that the little skunk loved his mummy more than he loved all the other little animals, and she knew what was right. No, tomorrow you say he hit that mummy. Rare means not occurring very often. Emphasis means a special value given to something. Tiptoed means walk quietly. Pretense means an attempt to make something that is false to appear true. Gingerly means in a careful or cautious manner. Explanation is when Jack said that eventually everybody started liking Roger Skunk. Joe did not understand the word eventually, as she had heard it for the first time. So she asked, "What's eventuality?" So eventually, okay. To which Jack told her the meaning, but Joe thought that what Mummy Skunk did was not right and said that what the mother skunk did was stupid, but Jack took it personally and said no, because somewhere he was relating it to himself and defending his own mother. Then Jack told Joe that he wanted her to take a long day nap and adjusted the shades so that no light came in. He then went very softly to the door and acted as if Joe had slept. But when he turned and looked, she was staring at him and sitting on top of the covers. Then he told her to go to sleep as she was also disturbing her brother who was sleeping. Then she stood up and started bouncing softly on the springs. While jumping on the springs of the bed, she asked her father to tell her a story the next day that the wizard took her magic stick and hit the mummy and chopped her plump arms. Then Jack explained to her that this was not what the story said. He told her that the story gave us a message that the skunk loved his mother more than any of the other animals in the woods, and that his mother knew what was right for him and what was not. Then, as he was explaining Joe about the story, she started insisting that the next day he would have to tell her a story like the one she wanted. Do it. She kicked her legs up and sat down on the bed with a great heave and complaint of his springs, as she had done hundreds of times before, except that this time she did not laugh. Said Daddy, "Well, we will see. Now at least have a rest. Stay on the bed. You are a good girl." He closed the door and went downstairs. Clary had spread the newspapers and opened the paint can, and wearing an old shirt of his on top of her maternity smock. Her maternity smoke was stroking the chair rail with a dipped brush. Above him, footsteps vibrated, and he called June. Shall I come up there and spank you? The footsteps hesitated. That was a long story, Clara said. The poor kid, he answered, and with utter weariness watched his wife labor. The woodwork, a case of moldings and rails and baseboards all around them, was half old tan and half new ivory, and he felt caught in an ugly middle position. And though he as well felt his wife's presence in the case with him, he did not want to speak with her, work with her, touch her, anything. Heave means produce a sigh, stroking move one's hand with gentle pressure, spank means slap with one's open hand, spank, sorry. Weariness means extreme tiredness. Then she started throwing tantrums as she had done many times earlier, but this time she was not laughing or joking, she was being a bit stubborn. Then Jack told her to be patient and sleep, and that he would see to it the next day. He then asked her to stay on the bed and closed the door. He then went downstairs and saw his wife painting the walls. She had opened the paint can, spread the newspapers, and was wearing an old shirt of his over her maternity dress. She was painting the chair rail. Suddenly he again heard footsteps above and shouted that did John want a beating? The sound of the footsteps started vanishing. Then Jack's wife told him that it was a long story that he was telling Joe, and to that he replied, the poor kid, and as he was feeling very tired, he just sat and watched his wife do all the work. Then he started looking at the woodwork around him and started relating to it to his life. He was looking at it and thinking that although both of them, Jack and Clary, were caught in a case like situation in their marriage, there was no solution to it. Neither did he want to talk to her, nor speak or touch her. So, in this way, this chapter gets completed. Thank you, students.